Chapter 1. You are listening at FameTV.info. A woman wearing a black dress with a beautiful face entered the room. This woman named was Alicia, one of the slaves of Vladimir, the lord of the vampires. She knelt down on her knees while lowering her head and spoke in front of the man sitting on a throne. "My lord, your bed is now ready." The man sitting on the throne said, "Okay, prepare a boat that will carry my coffin into the middle of the ocean. I want to hibernate longer this time, so no one is allowed to wake me up from my hibernation." While looking at her with cold and menacing eyes, the man in the throne said it as he thought, "I want to sleep in the middle of the ocean again like last time," when he remembered the feeling of sleeping in the bottom of the ocean. The cold temperature and the pressure under the ocean is refreshing and makes him feel good. They started to sail using the boat that was prepared by Alicia and stopped when they were out of nowhere in the middle of the ocean. With the orders of Vladimir, his servants started to prepare the coffin that serves as the bed of Vladimir. "Lock my coffin and put a spell that will enclose my bed." "Yes, my lord." Vladimir walked and lay in the coffin. Then Vladimir's slaves closed the coffin and put chains and locked it. Then an old man who is also a slave of Vladimir put a spell as requested of his lord, Vladimir. After putting a spell, they threw the coffin carefully in the middle of the ocean and let it sink before they went back to the castle. The coffin sank to the bottom of the ocean after they threw it and it landed on the ocean floor. Kevin is watching the television until a piece of breaking news appears. The news is about the new invention of the scientist known as Cesare Laurenti. He invented the first mini-submarine that can dive deeper than 36,000 feet. This invention didn't create commotion anymore, or this doesn't even surprise anyone anymore because VRMO is already invented. Everyone thought that humanity will first discover something that can go deep in the water before we can discover something that can connect the minds of a person, so no one cares about these inventions anymore. The Project Deeper is a group of mad scientists that are trying to reach the deepest part of the ocean, which is the Mariana Trench. In the record, the deepest dive ever is 35,853 feet of 2020. Now this scientist wanted to dive deeper than that. The man, whose name was Antonio, entered the submarine. After a while, they reached their destination and let the mini-submarine sink into the deepest part of the ocean. As they watched the submarine sink, a number that is continuously rising can be seen on the computer as the mini-submarine sank deeper and deeper in the ocean. 200 feet, 438 feet, 899 feet, 1,000 feet, 2,546 feet, 10,000 feet, 27,833 feet. They watched the number on the screen with a worried look on their face, and every time the number increased they would cheer. 35,852 feet, 35,853 feet, yay. Cheers could be heard throughout the entire ship, as the mini-submarine sank deeper and deeper. 36,000 feet, 37,000 feet, 50,000 feet, buzz, the sound of a broken radio can be heard throughout the room inside the ship, as at this moment Antonio, who is inside the mini-submarine, is experiencing extreme pressure. He tried to call to his team but no one answered until his mini-submarine hit something hard and a sound of a breaking metal could be heard. Antonio tried to find the source of this sound, and it seems that the mini-submarine hit something like a metal box under the mini-submarine. A coffin that was tied by the chains can be seen. Its chains were stuck in the propeller of the mini-submarine. Antonio started the mini-submarine and the propeller of the mini-submarine started to rotate counterclockwise. It hit the chain of the coffin and made a loud sound that can be heard even inside the mini-submarine. After several clanking sounds, the submarine finally floats up while the chains of the coffin broke. Antonio was very curious about the sound he just heard but decided not to pry into it anymore. After some time the mini-submarine came up above the ocean and the Project Deeper now came to an end. They went back to where they came from and dissipated. Meanwhile, in the bottom of the ocean, the coffin whose chains have been broken suddenly moves its lids, and after some time the lid of the coffin soars up at a high speed until it reaches above the ocean. Meanwhile, the man's eyes who were inside the coffin twitched. He has pale skin, thin red lips, wearing black medieval-style clothing and with a white long hair that almost reached his shoulder. After a minute the man's eyes opened widely, and very beautiful and alluring red eyes were exposed by the water. The man looked around and he found himself surrounded by the water. He didn't panic or cared about not being able to breathe and having his eyes exposed by the water. After looking around he stood up and performed a stretching in the bottom of the ocean. Every time the man moved a space would appear between the water because of the force that the man was making. Meanwhile, above the ocean big waves after big waves were continuously being created as the man who woke up from the coffin punched continuously. What the man didn't know was that his simple action will create a great disaster that will kill countless humans, that will be a controversial news. Kevin was still watching the television when a piece of breaking news appeared. The news was about how an earthquake occurred for the first time after almost 100 years. It also reported the deaths of countless humans because of the tsunami, and only those who were strong enough have survived and lived. This incident was considered a calamity, especially for those countries near where the epicenter of the earthquake happened. It also wiped out 3 countries near the epicenter of the earthquake that caused quite a commotion. This news spread like a wildfire and became a controversial topic of that day. After he finished his stretching he jumped out of the ocean and shot through the sky. He opened his black majestic wings that emerged from his back. He floats above the sky using his wings but not by flapping it. He looked around the area and looked into a certain direction, then he flapped his wings and in a blink of an eye, he has traveled 100 miles that made the water split into 2 because of the shockwaves that were caused by him. He traveled around until he found a place to land and landed there. He retracted his wings and walked out of the forest where he landed. He found a paved road after exiting the forest that made him confused because this was the first time he saw a paved road. He looked around more and walked around without thinking where he was going. After walking for a while Vladimir felt the stare of everyone he encountered and killed them. He felt angry because the style of their clothing is much better than his clothing style. Who made this style? It is very unique and beautiful. He thought this as he saw the clothes of those he killed. After walking for a while Vladimir walked to a certain fast food chain after smelling the aroma of food that he never smelled before. But before he reached this certain fast food chain Vladimir saw the light that is coming from the logo of the burger and also the light that is coming from the light bulb. What, I can't feel the power that is coming from this, he thought as he stared at the light bulb. Did I slept for too long that I lost my ability to sense magic? After contemplating for a while he entered the fast food chain and shouted. Who is the strongest being here? I am Vladimir and I want to fight that person. The surrounding people just look at Vladimir like a madman. Vladimir, sensing their gazes, wanted to kill them, but he smelled again the good aroma of the food, so he went to ask the lady in front of the counter. Hey, gave me that food that smells nice. Vladimir looked into the eyes of the lady, but the lady spoke in a language that he didn't know. Vladimir now understood why all the people he encountered stared at him like an idiot, so Vladimir just commanded the lady with his mind power. Gave me that food that smells good. After ordering the lady using his mind power, he sat beside the window of this fast food chain. Soon enough the lady came back with a tray full of burger, Coke and a bucket of fried chicken. After smelling this food Vladimir had an urge to grab it as soon as possible, but he suppresses his feelings. Vladimir looked into the food that he was holding. It is the burger he ordered. He is curious about how it tastes. Vladimir took a bite on the burger and he felt so good after eating, so he ate it until no signs of burger left. After that, he stared into the bucket of fried chicken. The smell of this food is so fascinating. As he thought this, Vladimir took a bite and after a while, he had an expression of joy on his face. This food is the greatest food I have ever tasted in my life. Hey you, what is this food made of? He asked the lady with his mind control. It is made of chicken, flour, and a secret seasoning. What, this is a chicken? I always thought that chicken doesn't taste good. All the food I have eaten tastes shit in front of this food. But what is this flour and seasoning? I never heard of this in my entire life. I need to learn their language. Where can I find books about the basic knowledge? Here, in the library. Go straight 1,000 kilometers north. Even though they both talk in different languages, Vladimir can still understand it because he can read her thoughts directly. Before he walked out, he killed all the human present in this area to remove his traces. After killing all the humans present in the fast food chain and the whole city, Vladimir flew to the north where the said library is located, based on what the lady said. Vladimir landed in front of the door of the library. After entering he saw a big room that is full of books, and in front, he can see an old lady who is the librarian. Vladimir uses his mind powers to control the old lady. "Teach me all about your language, human." The old lady nodded his head lifelessly as if she was not controlling herself, which is actually what is happening. He controlled her to teach him how to read and write. Even though the library was quite large, there is no other person inside it except for the guards that are guarding the library. They sat in the corner of the library and Vladimir started learning about the language of this era. Even though Vladimir has a perfect memory, he still struggled to learn with the help of the old lady whose mind has a problem because of her age. Listen to the full novel at FameTV.info, direct link in the description.